It was a cold December evening in 2024. The air was crisp, and tiny snowflakes floated gently from the sky, landing on rooftops and sidewalks. The city lights twinkled like little stars, making everything look magical. Christmas was just a few days away, and everyone was in a rush to buy gifts, decorate their homes, and enjoy the holiday spirit. But for 10-year-old Lila Green, this day was extra special. She had been saving every single coin she could find for months, and today was the day she would finally buy her mom the perfect Christmas gift. Lila's mom, Elena, was 35 years old and worked very hard as a nurse's aide at the hospital. She took care of sick people all day and then came home at night to take care of Lila. Even though Elena was always tired, she never let Lila feel it. She would come home, change into her cozy pajamas, and ask, "How was your day, mi amor?" in her warm, loving voice. Elena dreamed of becoming a real nurse one day. She had even started nursing school but had to stop because money was tight. Between paying rent, buying food, and making sure Lila had everything she needed, there just wasn't enough left for school. So, Elena worked extra hours, studying at night whenever she could. Sometimes, Lila would wake up in the middle of the night and see her mom asleep on the couch, her textbook still open on her lap. Even though they didn't have much, Elena made their small apartment feel like a home. She turned simple meals into feasts by adding extra love and laughter. She hung up homemade paper snowflakes for Christmas decorations and played holiday music while they danced in their tiny living room. Lila loved Christmas, but this year she wanted to do something special. 3 weeks ago, while walking home from school, Lila and her mom passed by a jewelry store. Elena stopped for a moment, looking at a beautiful heart-shaped locket in the window. She reached out, lightly touching the glass, and whispered, "Maybe someday." Then, as the bus pulled up, she smiled at Lila and hurried away. Lila didn't forget that moment. She had never seen her mom want something for herself before. Elena always spent her money on food, rent, and taking care of Lila. She never bought anything just because she wanted it. That's when Lila decided, "This year I'm going to buy that locket for her." For weeks, Lila saved every penny. She found coins and couch cushions, saved up her allowance, and even helped her neighbors with little chores to earn extra money. Every night, she counted her savings, hoping it would be enough. Finally, today was the day. She had exactly $15.42, all in coins and wrinkled dollar bills. She placed everything in a small plastic bag and held it tightly in her hands as she walked 8 blocks to the jewelry store. The store was warm and smelled like cinnamon. The lights made the gold and silver jewelry sparkle beautifully. Lila walked straight to the counter, her heart pounding. An elderly woman stood behind the counter. She smiled kindly at Lila. "How can I help you, sweetheart?" she asked. Lila took a deep breath and pointed at the locket in the glass case. "I'd like to buy this for my mom." The woman's smile softened. She carefully took the locket out and placed it on the counter. "That's a lovely choice," she said. "It will be a wonderful gift for your mother." Lila grinned and opened her plastic bag, counting out the money onto the glass counter. $15.42. The cashier's smile faded. She bit her lip and looked at Lila sadly. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," she said gently. "The price went up last week. It's now $25. Lila felt her heart drop. "No, this can't be happening." She stared at the money, hoping she had miscounted. She pushed the coins around, counting them again. $15.42. It wasn't enough. Her eyes filled with tears as she looked up at the cashier. "Please," she whispered. "It's for my mom. She works so hard and I just want to give her something special." The cashier's eyes softened, but she shook her head sadly. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I wish I could help." Lila swallowed hard, trying not to cry. She slowly started gathering her coins, each one feeling heavier than before. That's when a gentle voice spoke behind her. "Let me help with that." Lila turned around and gasped. Standing there in a simple black sweater and jeans was Sandra Bullock, the famous actress. Lila had seen her in movies before, but she never thought she would meet her in real life. Sandra smiled warmly. The cashier's mouth dropped open. Other customers in the store turned to stare. Sandra crouched down so she was at Lila's level. "Is this for someone special?" she asked gently. Lila nodded, suddenly feeling shy. "It's for my mom. She really liked it when we saw it before, but..." She looked at her little pile of coins again. Sandra's eyes filled with warmth. She stood up, took out her wallet, and handed the cashier a $50 bill. "This one's on me," she said, smiling. "And let's make sure it's wrapped beautifully. Every mom deserves something special for Christmas." The cashier's hands shook slightly as she took the money. Lila stood there in shock. This couldn't be real. But Sandra wasn't done yet. She placed a gentle hand on Lila's shoulder. Tell me about your mom. Lila's words tumbled out as she talked about Elena, how she worked so hard, how she stayed up late studying, and how she dreamed of becoming a real nurse. Sandra listened carefully, nodding. Then a well-dressed woman in a blazer walked up. Miss Bullock, could I have a word? Sandra nodded. Give me 1 minute, sweetheart. Don't go anywhere, okay? Lila watched as Sandra spoke in hushed tones, then pulled out her phone and made a quick call. When Sandra returned, she had a big smile. I have a very important question for you, she said. If your mom could have one wish, what would it be? Lila didn't hesitate. To finish nursing school. Sandra's eyes sparkled. What if I told you we could make that wish come true? She handed Lila a card. Call this number tomorrow morning, okay? Then her assistant gave Sandra a manila envelope. Sandra tucked it into Lila's backpack. Don't open this until you're home, okay? And don't forget to call. Sandra gave Lila a warm hug. Now let's get you home. I have a feeling tomorrow will be a big day for you and your mom. Lila didn't know it yet, but inside that envelope was the beginning of something incredible. Not only would Elena get her locket, but she would also get the chance to finish school. That night, as Lila gave her mom the beautifully wrapped locket, she couldn't stop smiling. Because Christmas wasn't just about presents. It was about love, kindness, and the magic of giving. And sometimes when you show love, the world finds a way to give something even bigger back. All because a little girl's love for her mom touched the heart of someone who could make dreams come true. The next morning was bright and crisp, the air fresh with the promise of a new day. Elena and Lila sat together at their small kitchen table, the manila envelope placed between them. Elena's hands trembled as she opened it slowly, the soft rustle of paper the only sound in the quiet room. Her eyes widened as she read the contents of the envelope. Inside was a complete scholarship application for the nursing program at Emory University. Elena could hardly believe what she was seeing. But that wasn't all. Along with the scholarship was a personal letter from Sandra Bullock herself, and that's when Elena's eyes filled with tears. It wasn't just the scholarship that moved her. What brought tears to her eyes was the promise that all associated costs would be covered. Books, uniforms, and even childcare for Lila. They would provide extra money every month to help with living expenses, allowing Elena to reduce her work hours and focus more on her studies. Elena could hardly wrap her head around it. I don't understand, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. She looked at Lila, her gaze soft with love and wonder. How did this happen? How did Sandra Bullock even? Her words trailed off as Lila launched into an excited explanation of everything that had happened the day before. Lila's words tumbled out in an eager, joyful rush, and Elena listened intently, her hands subconsciously touching the heart-shaped locket around her neck, as if to convince herself that this wasn't all just a dream. With shaking hands, Elena dialed the number from the business card. The conversation that followed would later feel like a blur. Sandra's assistant, with practiced efficiency, guided Elena through all the details. She explained how Sandra had been deeply moved by Lila's love for her mother and Elena's determination. By the end of the call, Elena had an appointment set with the admissions office at Emory University for the following week. It was all happening so fast and Elena could hardly believe it. That evening, as the sun set and the night settled around them, Elena and Lila sat together on their worn but comfortable couch. Elena held Lila close, a tight hug that felt full of emotion. You know, Elena said softly, her voice trembling with love and gratitude, I always thought I was the one taking care of you. But look at what you did. You took care of me in the most amazing way. Lila smiled and snuggled closer, feeling the warmth and love in her mother's words. That's what family does, right? She said, her voice full of understanding. In the weeks that followed, Elena worked tirelessly. She completed her scholarship application, went through interviews, and with Sandra's support and encouragement, was accepted into the nursing program at Emory. The actress had kept every promise she made, but she did something even more remarkable. She stayed in touch, offering guidance and support throughout the entire journey. Sandra had become a quiet but steady presence in their lives, and it meant the world to Elena. One particularly memorable evening, about a month into Elena's first semester, Sandra surprised them with an unannounced visit. It was a surprise because, unlike the glamorous Hollywood events she was used to, Sandra arrived at their apartment without any fanfare, wearing a simple sweater and carrying a bag filled with a homemade lasagna and study guides. I thought we could all have dinner together, Sandra said with a warm smile. And maybe help Elena study for her upcoming anatomy exam. The three of them sat around the table enjoying a meal and talking about everything and nothing at all. Sandra tried, in her usual playful way, to pronounce complex medical terms, but she deliberately mispronounced them in such an exaggerated way that Lila couldn't help but giggle. Elena, more relaxed than she had been in years, shared stories of her classes, her experiences at the university, and how her confidence was growing day by day. They laughed, and for that one night they felt like old friends, not people who had come together by chance. After dinner, as the night was drawing to a close, Sandra paused by the door, her hand resting on the doorknob. She turned to Elena with serious eyes and said softly, "You know what you're doing, balancing school, being a mom, building a new future. It's incredible. But what's even more incredible is having a daughter like Lila, who believes in you so much she made this happen." Lila beamed, a proud smile on her face. Sandra's eyes softened. "Sometimes our angels come in small packages, don't they?" she said, her voice quiet but full of meaning. The next few years were a whirlwind of activity. Elena dove into her studies with a fierce determination, knowing how much was at stake. She had already overcome so much, and now she was determined to finish what she started. She juggled schoolwork with being a mom, sometimes feeling exhausted but never giving up. With every passing day, Elena grew more confident. 3 years later, on a bright spring morning, Lila sat proudly in the audience of Emory University's graduation ceremony. At 16, she was old enough to truly appreciate the significance of what her mother had accomplished. Her heart swelled with pride as she watched Elena, her mom, standing among the other graduates, looking so confident in her graduation gown. Elena searched the crowd until her eyes met Lila's, and in that moment, the bond between them felt even stronger than it had ever been. Sitting right behind Lila was Sandra, who had quietly attended every milestone of Elena's journey, always there to offer support and encouragement. As Elena's name was called, Sandra squeezed Lila's shoulder and whispered in her ear, "Look what your love started." Lila held tightly to the locket around her neck, the same one that had started everything. Inside the locket now was a tiny graduation photo of her mom, smiling proudly in her cap and gown, and on the other side there was a family photo of the three of them with Sandra, the woman who had believed in them when no one else did. Elena walked across the stage, her heart bursting with joy. She was no longer just the tired woman who worked double shifts at a restaurant to make ends meet. She was now Nurse Elena Rivera, BSN, a graduate with honors. As she accepted her diploma, tears of happiness streamed down her face. In the audience, Elena could see several of her professors, all of whom were proud of her. They had all heard her story and witnessed her unwavering determination. They knew how hard she had worked to get to that moment, and they admired her for it. After the ceremony, as the family gathered for photos, Elena pulled Lila and Sandra close to her. She could hardly contain her excitement. "I have something to tell you both," Elena said, her voice trembling with emotion. "I've been offered a job at the pediatric unit at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta." Sandra's face lit up with happiness. She knew how much this job meant to Elena. For years, Elena had dreamed of working with children, helping them and their families through difficult times, just like she had wished someone could have done for her when she was struggling. That evening, they celebrated at their apartment, which was no longer the small, cramped space they had started in. Now it was a comfortable home filled with books, memories, and dreams that had come true. They were a family now, stronger than ever before. Sandra had brought champagne for the adults and sparkling cider for Lila, and they sat around the dining table together, their hearts full of happiness. Elena raised her glass and spoke with emotion. "To my daughter," Elena said, her voice thick with gratitude and love, "who believed in me enough to empty her piggy bank and change our lives. And to you, Sandra," she turned to the actress, "who showed us that sometimes angels wear casual sweaters and bring lasagna." Sandra smiled softly but shook her head. "I just opened a door," she said. "You two did all the hard work. You showed the world what love, determination, and faith in each other can do." Sandra reached into her bag and pulled out another envelope, one that looked just like the one from 3 years ago. She handed it to Elena. "And speaking of doors opening," Sandra said with a smile, "Elena, remember how you mentioned wanting to get your master's degree someday?" Elena's heart skipped a beat as she opened the envelope. She gasped when she saw what was inside. Fresh tears filled her eyes. Lila watched as her mother cried, knowing that their journey was far from over. As Elena held the new letter in her hands, she thought about that little girl she once was, the one who counted coins at the jewelry counter to buy a special Christmas gift. She never could have imagined that her simple act of love would start a chain of events that would change everything. Elena's story wasn't just a story about a celebrity's kindness. It was a story about the power of a child's love, a mother's determination, and the amazing things that can happen when someone believes in your dreams. And every Christmas, without fail, a new package would arrive at their door. Inside was a new snow globe for Elena's collection, each one more beautiful than the last. And inside each package was a note from Sandra. "Keep believing in miracles," the note would always say. They sometimes start with a little girl's love, and Elena, Lila, and Sandra would smile, knowing that their story wasn't just a story, it was the beginning of something truly extraordinary. If you enjoyed this story, share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories filled with adventure, mystery, and excitement. Your support means the world, and it helps keep these stories coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.